Today I said to myself, thank God I'm doing deadlift every day before doing squat every day. Because today was one of those days that my hips were just not happy. After doing those RDLs yesterday, those snatch grip, varied snatch width grip RDLs yesterday, I pulled up quite sore today. The hammies are gone. The adductors, surprisingly, are also very sore. When my adductors and when my hamstrings are jacked up and sore and tight, I know I can't squat deep. And I know a lot of people say to me, your hamstrings have nothing to do with squatting. My anecdote is they have a lot to do with squatting in terms of releasing. They need to be really long for me to get in those positions. If I can't get into those positions, then I butt wink and I have to really spread my feet wide apart. And I have a hard time squatting. And so today, going into the gym, I knew I was going to have a hard time squatting. And so if I had to squat as the first exercise, I would have a lot of trouble getting to those positions. I would have to do reverse lunges or something to loosen up the legs and the hips, because there's no way I'll be able to kind of go into a deep squat. My ankles would be so jacked up from all the stuff that's jacked up above the ankles. All that fascia is kind of intertwined and related. And so I'm glad today I started off with deadlifts, because that's what I did. I worked up to 230 kilos today. So my deadlifts are feeling good. I think today's day 7 of deadlift every day. There was a dip in performance, and there's still a dip in performance. Obviously, I'm doing it every day. But I feel like I'm in getting good positions. One of you guys said yesterday that my form is looking a little bit better now. I'm not so leaned over, and I feel it. I feel like I'm more in my quads. I feel like I'm more distributing the force throughout the rest of my body rather than just the lower back. So I've got a bit of leg drive. I'm kind of working out, what angle my feet should point and whatnot. I initially started with feet kind of straight. Now they're kind of a little bit more pointed out. I'm working out all these different things, and I'm feeling quite good. And so I'll go through the deadlift, and then I decided to do some more RDLs, really light RDLs, like with just one plate. I did 5 sets of 10 with those. They were not hard work at all. It's just basically stretching at this point. Stretching the muscle, kind of making it forget about the DOMs, get the blood in there. Whenever I do these type of things after a really heavy session, I always feel like I recover quicker. I know a lot of people say to me, man, you got to just freaking chill and relax and rest. To me, bed rest just makes the DOMs stay around longer. Honestly, I'm not going to pull up scientific reports and studies and literature reviews and all this sort of stuff. It's just my anecdote. It's my personal experience. Every time I remember doing legs once a week, and I would smash myself and I'd be sore for 3, 4, 5 days. Now I do squat every day and I'm never sore. Obviously, there's a lot more to that story, but when I have DOMs for whatever reason, and I then come in the following day and I do pretty much this or the same exercise, I always feel like I recover a little bit better. So that's why I did the RDLs. And then after that, I went to the squatting. Now, you'll see the first couple of sets of the squatting look absolutely atrocious. For me, that profile view, the side view with an empty bar is like perfect. It's a perfect view to see what somebody's doing in a squat. And my bar path was atrocious. The bar in the bottom, in the ATG position, the bar is basically like a few centimeters ahead of my toes, ahead of my feet. So my bar path is just whack. Usually when you're squatting, the bar path should be somewhere kind of in the middle of your foot, and it should be up and down like that. When I'm really, really stiff and really jacked up, I can't sit into my hips. I can't, my adductors are kind of sore. My hamstrings, probably they all tie up together. And they kind of like jack me up, and I have to lean over more in order for me to kind of put more, weight over that muscle, so it has more force for it to kind of give. It's like a weighted stretch. And you will see the first couple of sets look real bad. As soon as I put the 60 kilo on, it looks a bit more closer to the midline. I put the 100 kilos, and then the more I go on, it's basically like 180 today. The pause was basically directly over my midfoot. So, and that's because the weight on top of me is making those other muscles stretch in. It's a forced stretch. So it's funny how that happens, but the truth of the matter is that I actually have more difficulty squatting an empty bar in the first plate than I have with squatting 3 or 4 plates. It's just my positioning improves under that load. I can just kind of assume that perfect position. I don't know if some of you guys also feel this, but squatting an empty bar has always been like the most difficult for me. Today especially. Today my adductors and my hamstrings are upset. And so that's kind of what you'll see. You'll see the video coming up. A lot of you guys are going to be like, man, that's real bad. It is real bad. And a lot of you guys will probably say, just slide that bar down into a low bar position and you will have a perfect squat. But that's not the point. This is 230 kilos, heavier than yesterday. I feel like it moved well. I feel like I'm more in my quads, like I mentioned. My back is feeling good. I'm not getting those back bumps anymore. And I think right now I'm going to spend a lot of time with RDLs pretty much every single day as my kind of back off work for the deadlift. They just feel so good on my hamstrings, and they don't give me back bumps. So this is the 230. I thought it went well. Yeah, just, I don't know. I don't know whether you guys can see that. I definitely felt it. There's just more power of the floor. Obviously, it's not my, PR or whatever. I just felt more confident, and the feelings that I feel when I lift go a long way to me. So quite happy with that. You'll see in a second. Actually, I'm doing the RDLs now, but you'll see in a second what I was talking about with the squat. But that's basically where I'm at right now. Lots of DOMs, lots of mobility issues. That kind of makes me think, for people that do a lot of deadlifting and are really good at deadlifting, I hear all the time that they struggle with the squat, especially the high bar squat. And I wonder now whether, after specializing in the deadlift for such a long time, whether people just have chronic tight adductors and hamstrings and some of those structures which allow us to get into an ATG position. So a lot of people kind of, I don't know whether you guys can agree with me with this, but a lot of people basically deadlift their squat. I've seen a lot of guys deadlifting big numbers, and when I watch their squat, I can just basically picture them deadlifting the squat. They just rely on the same muscle groups, which allows them to deadlift really well. They just kind of sit back into that posterior chain and then they go for it. I don't like this. This is the thing about Olympic weightlifting. I've said this in the past on the channel. Olympic weightlifting to me is like such a beautiful sport in the sense that you need strength, you need power, you need technique, and you need mobility. How cool is that? Like in powerlifting, you don't need so much mobility. You just need a lot of strength. In strongman, a lot of these guys are not very mobile. They're just strong. They're strong, huge people. With Olympic weightlifting, you're kind of like combining these almost opposites. Really, really kind of strong individuals who are flexible and mobile and can reach these extreme ranges of mobility positions and be strong. I think to me, that's the appeal. I remember the first time I saw Olympic weightlifters like back in the day squat, and I used to think to myself, wow, like what a thing of beauty. What a thing of beauty. And then there's a few videos online, you can check those out, where they compare powerlifting squats to Olympic weightlifting squats, and you can see kind of like the difference. It's basically like a tease of Westside Barbell, because that whole sumo stance squat, and then the very next clip you have some guy like Klokov ATGing like 220 kilos, 240 kilos, whatever the hell it was, front squat, and he just like looks like a thing of beauty. And the reason why we associate beauty with those lifts is because of the extreme range of motion. It's kind of like taking, displaying your strength through the full range. I don't know what analogy I can come up with here, but it's like a true representation of what we all want strength sports to be. Not this idea where you kind of go to a competition and you arch your back fully on the bench press and you lower the bar 1 inch and you push it back up, and that guy gets, the biggest total and he wins. It's like, what are you winning? It makes no sense to be like, if it's going to be a strength sport, let it be full range of motion, man. Let it be like, show me that you can move that thing through a full range of motion, what the body is capable of. Same with the squat. Show me that you can squat all the way down and up, because that's kind of what I can associate with, what I can relate to. But when you put 1 rep, 2 rep, 50 ply suit, and you deadlift 2 tons, I don't have anything to kind of compare that to, because how many people walk around with knee wraps and suits and whatnot? You can't relate to it. It's a lot of weight on the bar. The bar's bending like a noodle, but you don't get a feeling of what that is. It's kind of like when you watch soccer or basketball. We all can kick a ball. I can walk out right now and kick a ball. I can go shoot a basketball tomorrow. And it's the exact same thing that Steph Curry and LeBron James are doing. So I can be like, wow, LeBron James jumps that high and dunks the ball like that well. Look how tall that freaking ring is. Look how high that thing is, man. So I can automatically have a comparison. But with powerlifting, it's kind of like the best bench presser, let's just say, the best bench presser is like moving the bar 1 inch. Like, why is he doing that? Like, or the guy squatting, that's really high squat. Why is it like, how much could he squat? Is my question in my mind. How much could he squat if he took that thing all the way down? By the way, this is where the bar is. Here I went, okay, must be the pants. The pants were kind of limiting him, so I was sweaty as hell at this point. The sweat was dripping off me. So I pulled the pants up and I went at it again, but the bar path didn't improve at all. The bar path was still crap. This is the definition of me having really bad mobility on a given day, thanks to the deadlifts and the RDLs for jacking me up. Usually the bar is further back. It's kind of over my toes, over the balls of my feet, kind of that region. But this thing is clearly ahead of my foot, which is not optimal. And so then you'll see as soon as I load 60 kilos, you'll see when it comes up in a second, it just looks better. You automatically looks better. It looks kind of like, I don't know, a couple of centimeters more towards my midline of my foot. So that's kind of, I don't know whether you guys experience this as well, but for me, squatting an empty bar, ATG is by far the hardest. A lot of people get confused by that. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but to me, it's always the case. But today, especially bad. So for me, the full range of motion strength sports are the best because I can relate to them. I can relate to them and they mean something to me. But when you start kind of shaving ranges of motion and all sorts of things, it's like you saw me. I squatted 340 kilos of pins. But what does that mean? What the hell does that even mean? It means nothing, man. It's just an arbitrary weight to a so-called depth. It's really, really high. Of course, I can't squat 340, but if I set the pins a little lower, I can maybe get 280 or 260, and you can see how that plays. And people train in these ranges of motion, and they kind of manipulate the knee angles, hip angles to kind of lower that weight. And so when people say, I squatted 1,300 pounds, it's like, man, I know you can't squat that much if you went full ATG. To me, that's the standard. But anyway, it's all different. It's all different kind of rules and regulations, different sport. This is why I'm just basically explaining why I'm not crazy about powerlifting as a sport, because there's a lot of things there that kind of rub me up the wrong way. So after I did the 60 kilos and the 100 kilos, I loaded up 130 and I spent quite a long time just doing singles. I did, I think, triple here. But I decided to do a whole bunch of singles. I did 10 singles just to loosen up the freaking body so I can squat something reasonable. So I just spent 20 minutes doing those singles, and then I went over to 180 and I squatted that. Guys, the fellas you see in the background there came up to me, introduced themselves. They're fans of the channel. Two of those fellas actually finished year 12, so finished high school today, actually. They came into the gym and they started, telling me how they watched the channel and how they live. So a few of those fellas actually woke up. This is what I love hearing about from you guys. These fellas were waking up really early, like 5 o'clock sessions before school, so they can get their powerlifting in. And a few of those fellas had really impressive numbers. Like they're 18-year-old, right? They're 18 years old, and they're basically doing the same numbers as I am. One of the fellas had a 200 kilo squat and a 210 kilo deadlift at 18. At 18, man, I said to him, man, if you continue on this path, man, by the time you get to 30 freaking 2, how many years that is away? That is a lifetime away. Although it comes around quick, but it's a lot of training sessions in between 18 and 32. I said to him, man, if you continue on this path, you're going to be squatting freaking 700 pounds and deadlifting 700 pounds. Just stay with it. Obviously, life changes and life morphs into all sorts of things, and responsibilities come on and in and out and all sorts of things. But if you can maintain a focus, if you can maintain a love for this game, man, in 14 damn years, man, I said to the fellas, you guys can be very, very impressive. You can be very known for your numbers. And I know I know there's freaking 17, 18-year-olds doing even more, deadlifting 650, 700 pounds and all sorts of things that you see in social media right now. But I said to them, like, all you can focus on is in yourself. Who knows what people are taking, what they're not taking, whatever. I think at 18-year-old, a 210 kilo deadlift is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It took me until I started properly training at 23, 24, 25, that kind of period. I think I was 27 the first time I hit 200 on the deadlift. So you can see the advantage these fellas have. Anyway, really lovely fellas. It was a pleasure to meet them today. And I know they're listening today, so the pleasure was all mine, fellas. Thank you for coming up and introducing yourselves. And so this is the top set of the day, 180 kilos. I'm quite happy with this. I'm pausing all these reps, like I mentioned yesterday, in an attempt to keep the weight down, so I don't have to hit true training maxes for both deadlift and the squat. I was quite happy with this. It was a good pause and a bit of a fight up, but I was quite happy with my positioning and my core strength. Even after all of this deadlifting, it still held up. Very happy with that. All right, fellas and ladies, that's all I got for you today. Tomorrow is going to be an earlier session, and then I'll go off into a night shift. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.